Hare Krishna Mataji, you can start now.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dhanapram. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. We'll start with a small kirtan. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Shri Radha. Jai Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango, Nitai Gaurango Gaura Hari. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya, Jagannatha Jaya, Baladeva Mahisudaya. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. जय विष्णु पाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस श्री भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय ताई गौ प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. Thank you all for joining today. We will be trying to discuss on Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3 and the chapter is 15. Chapter 15 verse is 38. Apologies, just trying to start my screen sharing so that we can see the beautiful form of Shri Shri Radha Gopijan Vallabh. Okay, so before I begin to speak something from my foolish mouth, I would like to seek blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas and also our Guru Parampara, and so that whatever we try to speak and discuss here should be enlivening to one and all, and also should please the heart of devotees as well as Krishna. So wherever we sing Radha Madhav prayers, because wherever we sing the glories of Krishna, Vrindavan is manifest. So we would like to discuss something which will strengthen our faith on Krishna and thus help us relish Krishna consciousness more. So Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyaham Shri Guru Shri Yudhavadakalam Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshtarne Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prem Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurati Shinama Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamani Hari Priya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So screen go. Yes, so today's verse is as we said, Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 15th chapter, verse 38. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the verse goes like this. Tam Tvagatam Pratihata Paikam Sapumbhes Chakshataksha Vishayam Sasamadhibhagyam Hamsa Shriyo Vyajanaya Shivavayulola Shubhratapatra Shashikeshar Shikarambam Tvam Tvagatam Pratihato Payikam Sapumbhe Chakshataksha Vishayam Sasamadhibhagyam Hamsa Shriyo Vajanayo Shivavayulola Shubhratapatra Shashikeshara Shikarambam Tam Tvagatam Pratihrato Payikam Swapumbhes Chakshataksha Vishayam Sasamadhibhagyam Hamsa Shriyo Vajanayo Shivavayulola Shubhratapatra Shashikeshara Shikarambam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Swami Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada Ki Jai. The sages headed by Sanak Rishi, saw that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who was formerly visible only within their hearts in ecstatic trance, had now actually become visible to their eyes. As he came forward, accompanied by his own associates bearing all paraphernalia, such as an umbrella and a charmer fan, the white bunches of hair moved very gently, like two swans, And due to their favorable breeze, the pearls garlanding the umbrella also moved, like drops of nectar falling from the white full moon, or ice melting due to a gust of wind. Purport. In this verse, we find the word achaksha taksha vishayam. Chakshu comes, it means eyes. Achaksha taksha vishayam. So the object of our eyes, vishayam. The Supreme Lord cannot be seen by ordinary eyes, but he now became visible to the eyesight of the Kumaras. Another significant word is samadhi bhagyam. Meditators who are very fortunate can see the Vishnu form of the Lord within their hearts by following the yogic process. But to see him face to face is a different matter. This is only possible for pure devotees. The Kumaras, therefore, upon seeing the Lord coming forward with his associates, who were holding an umbrella and a charmer fan, were struck with wonder that they were seeing the Lord face to face. It is said in the Brahma Samhita that devotees, being elevated in love of God, always, always see Shama Sundar, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within their hearts. But when they are mature, the same God is visible before them face to face. For ordinary persons, the Lord is not visible. However, when one can understand the significance of his holy name and one engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, beginning with the tongue by chanting and tasting prasad, then gradually the Lord reveals himself. Thus, the devotee constantly sees the Lord within his heart, and in a more mature stage, one can see the same Lord directly as we see everything else. So, this is the verse. I hope I'm audible. Just wanted to check chat messages here if it's okay. We can all hear, right? Just checking. Okay, thank you, Prabhu. So, apologies for that. Just wanted to ensure that we are able to hear. So, yes. So, important words that Prabhupada is using here, as we see in the purport, is achaksha taksha vishayam, achaksha taksha vishayam, and samadhi bhagyam. So, to before we begin this, just the story so far is we know that this is a chapter about description of the kingdom of God, such an important part of our life because we need to know where we want to go and what is it to be there. So Jai Vijay, very sincere, dedicated devotees of the Lord, they want to please the Lord, and that's why they are endeavoring to perform their service properly. And just outside the precincts of the Vaikuntha, and four Kumaras they came. They were just like 4-year-old children, not even bothering about clothes. And it said, right, we can't judge a book by the cover. So Vijay, thinking or seeing 4-year, 5-year-old kids approaching the doors of Vaikuntha, they get bewildered. Imagine a head pujari of temple. If a boy 4-year, 5-year-old, similarly dressed, if he wants to approach and says, I want to go into the altar and worship the Lord, what would be your reaction? You'll be like, Prabhupada has given certain standards and we need to maintain them. So this is what happened here. Jai Vijay tried to stop them from entering into the doors to Vaikuntha, and it's mentioned that Kumaras, like when we heard the earlier classes, Kumaras are very very excited, very very eager to take the darshan of the Lord. And so prior to that, Kumaras, like we know that Brahmaji created Kumaras as the first living entities, and he asked them to create progeny, but they were so self-realized and They wanted to get into bondage and stuff like that. They realized that this is so much distraction in a grahastha life and so much responsibility of material affairs. So they wanted to not get into that business. So they realized they don't want to. And with their yogic powers, they became so strong. Like Prabhupada mentions in, I guess, Nectar of Devotion, that there are various ways we can go to higher planetary systems. One of them is a yogic power. When we develop mystic siddhis, we can go to any planet. So that's what here we see, that they have core kumaras, being the strong yogis that they are able to reach the Vaikuntha planets as well. So what happened? They tried to stop, Jai Vijay tried to stop four Kumaras from entering. And because of the eagerness to meet, and when that any desire is not fulfilled, what happens naturally? Anger. Prabhupada says anger is the younger brother of desire, I guess. So they become angry, and they curse Jai Vijay. That we all know, we have been listening past few days, that there is no duality in the spiritual world. And if you feel that there is something good or bad, as somebody going to harm or bring negativity, that means you yourself are negative. So just contemplating on that long back, I remember my counselor used to say that anarthas attract anarthas. So this is what four kumaras are trying to say, that when we ourselves have anarthas, we see anarthas in others. So what four kumaras are trying to say here is, since you think, or you yourself are negative, or think that you have that feeling of good and bad, of the dualities, those dualities do not exist in spiritual world. We hear this word, right, so many times, that dukha, sukha, hani, labh, all this is part of this material world. But when we go beyond duality, that's when we attain transcendence. We attain equanimity. That means we are not bothered by the dualities of life, and that happens when we reach that spiritual level of self-realization. And now Jai Vijay, they are in spiritual world, and still if they feel that this is right, this is wrong, that means they belong to the material world. That's what four Kumaras say. So now in this verse, we see that just right before this verse, so Lord Vishnu, when he realizes that there's a matter, serious matter I need to attend to, he starts from his place, from where his place of rest in the Vaikuntha Loka, and he starts coming out towards the door of the Vaikuntha planet. And just right before, what happened, that they Jai Vijay, after committing a mistakes happen, even if um, we are at that stage, they are in Vaikuntha Loka, but mistakes can happen. But the main point we have been hearing is how we repent for that mistake, and that's what they did. They immediately repented and begged forgiveness, and the only thing that they asked was, may we never forget our Supreme Lord. That is the intention. Sometimes intention, we um, when we are in tension, our specific intentions become visible. Like when I'm stressed out, my original nature, my original intention of being angry, frustrated will come out. But here we see that despite the fact that Jai Vijay, they were in tension, but their intentions were still clear. They were very clear about their intention, that wherever we are, we don't want to forget our Supreme Lord. And that's a basic two principles that we hear in Bhakti every time. That the main principle is to always forget Krishna, never forget Krishna. Because if we forget Krishna, that means we are going to fall in the dualities of life. And then this is a endless vicious circle that'll be, that'll be just going on, and we'll be entangled forever. So, and this is the verse that we are reading here. Lord has actually come to that place where this whole pastime is happening. And we see that Kumaras have been an impersonalists before. We will read further, I guess, in further verses, that they were impersonalists, which means they do not believe in the personal form of the Lord, but they have heard about it, and that's why they were there in the Vaikuntha Lokha. And when they see, they are mesmerized by the beauty of the Lord. And how poetically it's explained that the charmer is fanning and umbrellas, pearls, everything is so beautiful. They are comparing everything to drops of nectar falling from the white full moon. So they are mesmerized by the beauty. And it also indicates one more thing, that even if as impersonalists, if we are not envious of Lord, we can get the mercy of the Lord. So because they were not envious, and we know that they were such self-realized souls, and they realized that lusty desires, ego, envy, that all starts after a certain age. Like a 4 year, 5 year old child might not have those lusty desires or greed, envy, pride, all stuff. So they decided that they will, with their yogic powers, they could do it as well, that they would remain a 4 year old boy in their consciousness, so that all these anarthas will not affect them. So they were still not envious of the Lord, and that's why Lord comes to give them their darshan. So that's what in the verse we see, that they have seen the Lord within their hearts in ecstatic trance, but now they are able to see the Lord with their eyes. And that is so important, that imagine, I remember once we were hearing Bhagavad Gita class long back in Pune. There was this Mataji was mentioning in the class that imagine there's a door bell rings, and you open the door and it's Krishna there. What will be our reaction? With the faithless person that I am, I might think that this is some some actor dressed as Krishna. But here we see that how they are mesmerized by the beauty of the Lord. And then we also see that because Jay and Vijay have been dutifully serving the Lord, they are given protection by the Lord. So because they manifested, or they showcase their quality of humility, and that is what pleases the Lord. So we see a little background. We'll hear later that why did this happen to the doorkeepers, Jay and Vijay? Because they had offended Mother Lakshmi as well in the past. And Mother Lakshmi had foretold that this is going to happen. But so this is kind of given a second chance by Lord, that the second time committed this mistake. But they, of course, Mother Lakshmi might not have shared it to the doorkeepers themselves. That's why they didn't realize this mistake. And when the mistake is not conveyed, we keep on repeating. Like I feel that as we progress in bhakti, our connection with our spiritual master, our Paramatma becomes stronger. And if we do a mistake, immediately we realize. And if we don't realize that, then we keep defending ourselves. Like, I didn't do it. I did do it for this reason, that reason. And that's when we start committing offenses, because defending is the first step to offending. I think Bhakti Rasan Sagar Swami Maharaj was mentioning. So since they had offended Mother Lakshmi, and for them the reason was Lord is resting, we don't want him to be disturbed. But then when we are given a service, we should also remember that who do we have authority and who do we not have authority. And also I feel there is a way where we communicate certain instructions if we have to in a service. So it's mentioned, right, that it should be like a sandwich. Any critical comment should come in between two or more um, positive comments. So the bigger the sandwich, the thicker the sandwich, the outer layers, the pleasing it is, the more palatable it is. So, so this reminds me that humility, like that's what four Kumaras are mentioning here, that it is so important to have the humble attitude of humility. This reminds me of a story I heard from His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj. He's mentioning about a devotee in early days. His name was Cherry Raj, and he became a devotee in 1969 on Second Avenue. And he was so always enthusiastic to serve whatever service he was given. And for him, that time the service was to go on Sankirtan party. And so Sankirtan party, that life is very austere if we can imagine staying in a van, traveling in a van. There's no, so to say, ashram or room where you can go and relax or take a resting nap so you can recharge yourself. So what he would do whenever he would travel, he had this habit that if I'm traveling with two other devotees who could be senior, junior, or disciples of his god brother, in the morning he would rise early and take his bath, get on chanting. And then when the other devotees would wake up and they will go to take bath, he will nicely fold and their sleeping bag, they will nicely fold and nicely arrange it. So simple, humble service. Not that he needed to. He was the most senior of all of them there at that time. Imagine he became a devotee in 1969, but he continued to do that. And that humility, that's what attracts Krishna. So Krishna consciousness is simple. It's not easy because I know about myself. We have been passing through so many bodies and collecting that subtle ego that I am everything, I am the best. And that's what we end up continuing with our Guru and Krishna as well, ultimately. Prabhupada says in Nectar of Devotion. So, what he would do, he would never, never, never find faults, but whenever he would sit with other devotees, he would always discuss how, when we go to this Sankirtan place, we went and did Sankirtan, we tried book distribution. How did this devotee distribute this book? How so basically discussing only about the qualities of the devotees. And we see here as well in our congregation, there are devotees who are just appreciating you all the time. And when they appreciate you, you feel, wow, I'm something. Because that Prabhu, that high level of like senior devotee is appreciating you, and that's that's what puffs up your ego. But actually, it should be the opposite. They are doing it because they are at that level that they can see. What do you say? Even the like with the eyes of Jagannath, right? Jagannath ji, that they can see even the tiny minuscule part, whatever, even if you have or not, but they magnify and express it. So that's what Cherry Raj used to do as well. So once while preaching, he went to a no trespassing zone, and so he was caught, and police sent him to jail for 6 months. And the other devotees were very much obviously upset that such a sweet devotee he had to go to jail. So they thought, okay, we'll go and encourage him and make him feel good and give him some pep talk, and we'll go to the jail and try and encourage him and enliven him. So they traveled from New Vrindavan all the way to New York, like 10, 11 hours drive. And finally they reached there. And when they got to meet, like there's this wall, right? You go and meet the jail inmates. They start. So Cherry Raj was coming, and on the way he was saying Hare Krishna to all the jail inmates and the jailer and the guard and stuff like that. And they were all surprised, all these devotees. Like, we thought we are going to cheer him up, but he's already a devote. Like he's made that atmosphere only devotional. Everybody's chanting Hare Krishna. He started explaining them that there's this main baranda, or like a porch where they all sit during the day, and many of them do other things like dumbbells to make themselves strong, or play cards, or play some games or whatever. But what he would do, he would go and chant and do little kirtan there. And that is what, so initially they would be like how Prabhupada says, right? When I came, I just started with this chanting. I did not have a drum, I did not have a kartal. I just started this Maha Mantra. And the potency of the Mahamantra and the purity and of the intention, that is what started this strong movement of Hare Krishna International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So that's what Cherry Raj did as well, with his humility and his pure intention. With his humility and pure intention, he started to chant in the porch of the jail. And maybe a couple of days people didn't turn, but then they realized. And because the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is so potent in itself, combined with the purity of the soul who's trying to preach it, it becomes even more powerful. So people started coming and they started discussing Bhagavatam. Can you imagine, in jail? They did that. And when he was released from the jail, those inmates didn't want to stay in the jail anymore, which was not the case before, because nobody wants to stay in a jail. It's so not convenient, right? It's not so not convenient. It's like you are bound in a jail. How will it feel? And living with people of all criminal background. But when he's going to leave, when he was about to be released from the jail, the other jail inmates, most of them, not all, but most of them would write him letters and ask him questions and get his guidance even after that. So, so that's what I'm trying to say, that humility is what pleases the heart of Krishna. We also know from the example of Ramanujacharya's disciple. His name was Kuresh, and he was such a dedicated disciple of his guru that there was once the king of that area. He wanted to, so he that king did not like Ramanujacharya and his teachings. So he invited him for a debate, and he said that if you win, you're going to die. If you win, you're going to die, and or if you lose, lose means anyhow you lose, but if you win, you'll die. So Kuresh, being the obedient and humble servant of Ramanujacharya, he said, Gurudev, let me go in your disguise, because I don't want you, because anyhow they're going to kill us. And you should be there to, you know, to make our lives, people like me, make our lives more meaningful. You can't leave the movement. So he went in disguise to that king's place, and the king and he fought. He did a good debate, despite the fact that he knew that if he wins the debate, he's going to die, because he's going to die. That's what the plan of the king was. But what he does instead, or he could have actually chosen to get defeated and be maybe whatever insulted and just left like that. But he didn't do so. He just decided that no, I cannot keep put my the prestige of my spiritual master at stake. So he did win the debate, and as a punishment, the king wanted to kill him. And then the king's daughter or sister, somewhere I read it's a daughter or sister. So uh, that girl a while ago was haunted by a ghost, and so many people were approaching king for getting her rid of the ghost haunted, but still nobody was able to help. And when Sri Ramanujacharya touched her lotus feet on her head, or touched her head on her hand on her head, she was able to, the ghost left her body. So this girl reminded the king that, see, Sri Ramanujacharya is the one who helped me that time. You should not kill him. So king somehow agreed to it, but he was like, no, I don't want him to preach, so I will actually take his eyes off. So he burned his eyes off. So now who is he here? Kuresh in the disguise of Sri Ramanujacharya, and they leave him in the jungle. And finally, some pure souls find him and bring him back to Sri Ramanujacharya. And Ramanujacharya's heart is crying and weeping because of seeing the situation of Koresh, and he takes him to the Lord Sri Rangam, and he prays there, and he asks actually Koresh to pray sincerely to Sri Rangam, to the temple of Sri Rangam. And I heard in two versions of this story, and in one version it said that when Sri Ramanujacharya and Kuresh go to take darshan of Sri Rangam temple, a breeze flows all of a sudden, and that breeze when first touches the Lord lotus feet, and then the breeze comes towards the eyes of Kuresh, and then his eyes gets healed. Another version that is even more interesting is when Kuresh goes to pray to Sri Ranganath, and what he prays. I mean, had I been there, I would have said I need eyes so that I can assist my spiritual master, maybe something on those lines. But what Kuresh said, that there is this guy there's this person in our mutt who was envious of Sri Ramanujacharya and his disciples. So he went and did chugli to that king, and that is why the king was so agnostic and he wanted to kill all of us. So because of that person, it all happened. So Krishna, please bless him with his mercy, with your mercy, so that he can progress in bhakti. That's amazing quality, right? That's what Krishna shows himself with the example of Aghasur as well, or that even people who are agnostic towards you, you give them liberation, or in case of Kuresh, he's asking so that he can get bhakti, because when bhakti is sprouted in the heart, it gets us it it can help us. It definitely helps us with the period of time and our insincerity, that it helps us get us over our anarthas. So this is the first benediction he asks, that Lord Ranganath, please help that person receive the mercy and become a bhakta. Then Lord Narayan blessed him with that. And he again, in his reciprocation with Lord Ranganath again asks Kuresh, what is it that I can, bless you with? I can give you anything you like. Then he says, that king who actually punished us, he died after a while. So please bless his soul so that he becomes a devotee in his next life. That's second benediction that he asks. And then this news reaches Sri Ramanujacharya, and Ramanujacharya approached Kuresh and said, uh, like as a spiritual master, we are indebted to our no, as a disciple, we are indebted to our spiritual master. So that then Sri Ramanujacharya tries to blackmail him, saying, "Your body does not belong to you; it belongs to me. So these eyes are mine. So you have to ask for these eyes to Lord Ranganath." And that's what, as a service to his Gurudev, Kuresh asks Ranganath ji to bless him with his eyes, his vision back, so that he can serve his guru with these eyes. And that's what happened. So it's 8:59, and I would like to wind up. I had a couple of more stories, but I think we will end here. So this is a story of Govinda I wanted to narrate, but we will skip it for now. So to summarize the discussion today, doorkeepers offend the sages and receive the curse, but because of their humility and their right intentions, despite being intention, they beg apologies and request only one thing, that they should never forget the Lord. Their humility and genuineness attracts Lord's attention. And similarly, in our life, the lesson that we can learn from here as well, that our mood should be to please Krishna and his devotees. And if there is a conflict, take shelter of the holy name for guidance. So we all have some or the other anarthas, but what we and with our spiritual advancement, little whatever we are making, we are able to see those mistakes that we are committing. And that's why when we have this morning japa time with Krishna one to one, we can beg for those anarthas, to so that we can get rid of them. And so mood with which we start chanting in the morning, That is very, very important. So like any appointment which we have in office or in another, material world, we do a lot of preparation. What all should I talk? What should be my agenda for the meeting? So similarly, when we are planning a meeting with Krishna every morning in our japa time, we have to try and keep that agenda very clear. That Krishna, I'm struggling with this anartha. I did fault finding the other day. Not other day, I do it daily. So I did fault finding today. So I need your blessings, and I hope I can chant and pray with sincerity so that I can get rid over these anarthas. And I earlier talked about how anarthas attract anarthas. So how we can get rid of this cycle of anarthas attracting anarthas, because when we have anarthas, we receive reaction either of those anarthas from other devotees or other living beings, or we see those anarthas in other devotees, either way. So what do? We try to bring, we try to, of course, first beg mercy from the Lord, and then try to appreciate devotees. So envy towards any devotee is equal to envy towards Krishna, because um, ultimately, when we all know that everybody is part and parcel of Krishna. And if we are somehow sometimes it happens that we have this envious mentality, and when we come to Krishna consciousness, like if I was hearing a class, His Holiness Radhanand Maharaj, he was mentioning that we want people to be, we want to spread Krishna consciousness, because we know that how our life has improved, enhanced, and flourished spiritually because of our taking to path of devotional service. We want others as well to benefit. Of course, we say it's others benefiting, but it's our benefit as well. We say that in giving we receive. So when we share Krishna consciousness, only because our Krishna consciousness becomes stronger and more faithful, our faith becomes stronger. So we are in this movement of preaching movement. We try to preach so that many more souls become containers or recipients of Krishna's mercy. But when one or more of such devotees get more mercy, we feel envious. We feel, why is that devotee getting that service? Why am I not on the altar? Why am I not in the good books of the spiritual master or the Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru? If we feel that, that means we are envious of Krishna, because Krishna is the source of that mercy, and Krishna decides who does it go to. So we see here in the case of Kumaras that they were not envious. They were appreciative, and their service to the Lord was hampered. So it's different mindsets of different people here. If we see in this pastime, four Kumaras have the intention to meet, and they were obstructed from their service. And Jay and Vijay, they wanted to guard the Lord, and their service was kind of being hampered, they felt, because the little children, like the bodily get up of those four Kumaras were like little children, and they were thinking it'll be a cause of disturbance to the Lord. So what we think and act, that's what helps us, or whatever that makes us end up in such situations where we have been in a conflicting situation. So mistakes happen, that is okay. We are living beings, conditioned living beings, but the main thing is humility. With humility, when our intentions are right, with humility, if our intentions are right, and we beg apologies, and always keeping Krishna in everything, actually, that I feel is very important. Even if some mistake like this happens, we try to see how Krishna is trying to show me something, or how Krishna is still protecting me through these situations, troublesome situations. So I think I would end here. It's 9:05, and thank you so much for your kind audience. I'm very grateful to this opportunity, because in giving brief, I remember Radhesham Prabhu was asking once brahmacharis that, why do you go to distribute books? And one of the brahmacharis said, we go so that we can benefit people at large. But Radheshyam Prabhu said, no, we don't go to help them, but we go to help ourselves, because when we spread the mercy of Krishna, we also become a recipient of Krishna's mercy. So to end, I would like to beg forgiveness if I said anything incorrect, or if I said something out of my foolish, very hard to say foolish, because of my foolish mouth. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, your hand is raised, Kadamrani Prabhu. Do you have a question which you can answer already?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much for the nice class and for sharing so many valuable points. Very grateful. Like your class actually made me remember some things that I thought if it's okay, I can share.
Yes, Mataji.
Permission. Just that when we were saying about the service, during my first yatra, the Vrindavan Yatra in 96, I was really totally new to Krishna consciousness, and the eagerness for attending Mangalarti and running fast behind this, just being fast and running around, was that young youth situation. I didn't really look around for what others were going through or what was others feeling, because I was floating in ecstasy. And every day the girls, we would run to Mangalarti in the morning, and there's no time to sit and wash your clothes and everything. Like you just dip it in the water and just hang it on the pipe and you just run. And when I come back, I see that the sari is nicely folded, it's dried and it's nicely folded and kept. And I was feeling very mystical, but I was like, I didn't even have time to think about who was doing it. I was like, thank you to that devotee, whoever is doing, and I just kept doing that running. And hearing in every class that, oh, we have to serve the devotees and Maharaj is giving, and I'm just thinking, wow, it's so nice to hear about service, serving devotees. But the last day we had to catch the train, and it was given for shopping, and I really didn't have anything to shop because this was my first yatra and I didn't know what it meant to go to Loi Bazaar. So that day I did not run around that early. So I was doing things at ease. And that day I saw the Mataji who was next door. She was actually from a very affluent family. She was elderly, but she was the one who was doing, she was taking all the saris, putting it up on the rope and drying them up and folding it up and keeping, and I was like, Krishna, Krishna. She doesn't even have the energy, and she was doing it every single day for so many of the young girls there. So I just felt, thank you so much that those little things that devotees do, it's not really little, it actually was a big service, but very eye-opening that you can be really behind the scene and please Guru Maharaj and be acting on the lecture that is being told in the class than just relishing the class. Wow, nice class. Wow, nice class. But what it means to actually live the life of the class, I really saw that day. So just wanted to share that, Mataji. Thank you so much for very nice points.
Thank you.
Haribo, thank you so much for sharing, Mataji.
Thank you. This is very enlivening, actually. We hear stories, but when we see that people doing around us, devotees doing that around us, that strengthens that faith and conviction. And I hope I can also be on, at least start with that mood of serving, actually. Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments? Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much. Very nice class, Mataji. I really like these two, which you said, anarthas attract anarthas. It was a very strong and strong message, Mataji. Anarthas attract anarthas. The second one was intention. Our real intentions will show up. Wow. That's so true, Mataji. Thank you for bringing these two. Very grateful, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for tolerating me, Prabhuji. I have heard and I was just trying to communicate what I've heard. Hare Krishna. If no more questions, we can end, Prabhuji. Yeah, if you allow, Prabhuji.
Devotees, are there any other questions? Anyone else? Mataji, no questions on Facebook as of now. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very good. Her Grace Nayansundari Mataji ki jai.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam, Mataji. Thank you.